Okay, so tonight we are going to be learning about a an important topic, the topic of not caring about what other people think. And in particular, when it comes to us serving Hashem, the way that when we know that we're doing the right thing, but others might look at us and say, what you're doing is wrong, and they might try to mock us or make fun of us and the like. Pasuk begins in this week's parsha, etc. One explanation, the Chaim says on this, is that it's possible to learn from over here that we're able to achieve greatness and make ourselves like Moshe Rabbeinu and not to be embarrassed from anyone. The Chaim says on this pasuk. So, based on this, Rav Zilberstein in his Alin L'Shabeach is a very nice example, few examples of this and how we shouldn't be embarrassed. One is the Mishnah in the second parak, Pirkei Avos. Mishnah lists that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai had 5 Talmidim. One of them is Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya. Excuse me. And the Mishnah says, Ashrei Yoldasa. Praiseworthy is the person who gave birth to such an individual. So the Bartanura, many other Mefarshim, they're all basically coming from Yerushalmi. Chazal teaches us what's so special about his mother. So his mother, there's a few explanations, but either when Rabbi Yeshua was a fetus, would go around to the different Batei Midrashos asking the Talmidei Chachamim to daven on behalf of her fetus, or the more famous or well-known explanation is that she would bring the crib into the Beis Medrash so that all he would hear is Torah. So those are the 2 explanations. So I have to say, based on this, that this is a pretty embarrassing type of situation over here to get oneself into, to put oneself into the situation. But still, she did so, and because of this, child became a very special child. Another example is Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva, this Rabbi Akiva, he married Rachel. Rachel, the daughter of Kalva Savua. It says anyone who went into his house hungry like a dog, Kalva, Kelev, he came out Savua, satiated, satisfied. So she was someone who had a very, what they call ultra wealthy, very upper class. So in many circles, Jewish world, not Jewish world, depending upon the circle in the Jewish world, but a lot of times people with a similar socio-economic background tend to marry one another. Even nowadays, nothing has changed in thousands of years. You don't see a prince or a princess who's someone who's going to become the next leader marrying someone who lives in a studio apartment, right? You don't see such a thing often. So here is Rabbi Akiva, a shepherd, one of the many employees, Kalva Savua, and Rachel wants to marry him. Why? Because she has hopes for him. You desire to learn. Right? So nowadays it's pretty common that you have people that come from very wealthy families, and they marry a young guy who sits and learns all day. Okay? So why? They're doing it because they see that he has potential and he already knows a lot, and he has good midos, etc. So what is Rachel? What's the draw in Rabbi Akiva? Right? What does he have more than anyone else? She saw he had a desire. So she didn't care what people thought. She didn't care that they thought. She went through it. She didn't care about what others thought. We're talking about not being embarrassed. Later on, once they finally got married, so Rabbi Akiva had second thoughts if he was going to start with this learning thing seriously. Because after all, he didn't know much. So he was hesitant to go on with that plan. So the Avos Rabbi Nosson in Perek Vav relates that he ended up going forward with it, and he sat next to the children. Literally, you have a 40-year-old. I just turned 36. One of my chavrusas pointed out I have some white coming out. So it happens when you have a lot of kids. And here's someone over here with white hair, and he's concerned about others are gonna, what are they gonna do? They're gonna make fun of him. They're gonna mock him. He's sitting next to a bunch of kids learning the Aleph base properly. So everything until there, probably most people in this room know. Here's what's very interesting. What he quotes, one of my chavrus, must have been like 7 years ago. I don't remember there anymore. He ended it, no, maybe. Um, he once told me about this. I said, "Where is that?" He said, "I don't know." And then I found it over here. And just this morning, before actually Rabbi Newberger asked me if I could give the shir tonight, I looked it up for myself. I was looking it up to add into my notes. And due to the amazing technology of the Otzar Chachma, I looked it up. This is a beautiful idea. This is what he quotes over here. It's called the Medrash Hagadol. That's what it's called. It's one of the lesser known midrashim. And he quotes over there this unbelievable story in the Medrash Hagadol. It's in Shmos Daled Yud Gimel. And when you look it up, there's like 4 pages on Yud Gimel. It's like on one of them, like the second or third, whatever. Rabbi Akiva, so Rachel said, "Here's a donkey." Now this donkey had medical issues. She said, go to the marketplace and buy this donkey that the back by the spine, it was like indented. It was like it had almost like the body went down. It was like a hole. It was like a camel. You see it as a hump going up. It was the reverse of that. And those donkeys you could buy for very cheap, right? Because they don't provide that much value. She said, go buy one of those donkeys. So Rabbi Akiva went to the marketplace and bought that donkey. And basically, she took dirt, put it in that area, and put seeds, and plants started growing out of it. So Rachel told Rabbi Akiva to take it to the marketplace. She took it to the marketplace, and everyone's laughing at Rabbi Akiva. Everyone's laughing. What is this guy doing over here? What type of donkey does he have? Right? He's got plants growing out of a donkey. So he does that a second day, and the same thing happens, and everyone's laughing. And then by the time the third day came, no one was laughing anymore because they were already used to it. So she told Rabbi Akiva to give him a chizuk that you see, you don't need to be embarrassed because just like after already the third day, no one cares anymore. So too, no one's going to make fun of you. No one's going to care anymore. And that's what happened. And that's the history of the beginning of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva is a special person just to talk about for a long time straight with many other episodes and the like. But that's the story. So we see from all of this not to be embarrassed. So I think a nice tie into this is something that I said over a shir many years ago in Parshas Noach. A beautiful tie into this. There's not such a well-known sefer. It's called the Beis Aaron. One of my chavrusas gave it to me many years ago, the Patiker. And he has a piece in Parshas Noach over here on Daf Yod of his sefer. And he says, the pasuk says, Ish sadik tamim hay b'deraisav es Elokim es halech Noach. That the pasuk calls Noach a sadik in his generation, and he walked with Hashem. So if he walked with Hashem, he was obviously a tzaddik, and if he was a tzaddik, then he obviously walked with Hashem. So it seems like something is extra over here. So he says a chiddush that you have he says it's not a chiddush, a foundational point. Sometimes you have people that they do the right thing privately, but publicly they don't. They're embarrassed because people are going to make fun of them. And then sometimes you have the opposite. On the outside, they look like they're good, but privately they don't care at all. So someone who fears Hashem truthfully, he needs to serve Hashem privately and publicly. Shouldn't be embarrassed about what people say, like the Rama says in the beginning of Orach Yitbייש mipnei Adam המלעיגים עליו בעבוdas Hashem. Don't be embarrassed because the people are making fun of the way that we serve Hashem. This obviously directly ties in that we should not be embarrassed if we know we're doing the right thing. Even privately. So that's why the pasuk says that Noach was a tzaddik, meaning it was privately and publicly. Even though people of the generation would make fun of him, what are you building, blah, blah, he wasn't embarrassed. And still he went with Hashem. A.K. when it was only Hashem, he went with Hashem. He was consistent throughout. That's what he says. That's this idea of that we should not be embarrassed. That's the beautiful tie-in. Ad Kan of the base Aaron. So a very nice tie-in to this would be the opening Gemara of Brachos. In the 6th parak, Mevarchim an Lamed Hey, Na'amad Beis. After the Gemara says, how do we know you need to make a bracha before food? It's logical. So the Gemara quotes a steer between two psukim. One pasuk says, L'Hashem haaretz umaloha. Another pasuk says, V'haaretz na'asan levnei Adam. Which one is it? Does Hashem own the ground, or was it given to humans? So the answer is, there's no question. Depends if it's before the bracha or after the bracha. If it's before the bracha, before we said a bracha, so then the food belongs to Hashem. But once we say the bracha, then it belongs to us. And the Gemara over there proceeds to relate that someone who doesn't say brachas, it's as if he's stealing from Hashem before he eats. He's stealing. He's eating something that is stolen. Right? Because the pasuk says, "Govil of the imov over ein pesha chaver hu liish mashches," and the Gemara says, "Who is this person of destruction? He's a friend to the person of destruction." The Gemara says it's Yeravam ben Nava. Rashi over there says, "Lefishu hu mekel ruroyim ha'acherim v'lamdim mimenu la'asos kein lahanus min olam hazeh b'loy bracha." Since he does this, people are going to look at him and they're going to say, "If this guy's lenient, then I could also be lenient." And they're going to say, I'm not going to make brachas as well. And that's precisely what Yeravam ben Nava did. Yeravam not only sinned, but he caused others to sin as well. It's a very important point and something to think about. So we have to be careful when we say brachas. We have to be careful to privately and publicly serve Hashem. Now, we find also, that's publicly, we find also privately that the Rama says, Behetzne leches, on the same Rama, he says you should be sanua, you should be private. And the Mishna Berurah comments in Sivkot and Zayin, Af b'shah shu bebeiso behetzne, gam ki yeye lechto im Hashem. Even when a person is by himself, he should still be modest, like the pasuk in Micha says, that you should be modest. Mariv is definitely 820? Okay. So basically, in short, you sure it's 820? Yeah? Okay, so I have more to say, but in short, we should be careful to publicly and privately serve Hashem. That's what we see from this. And nowadays also not to be embarrassed no matter what and be proud for what we're doing, not trying to hide it from anyone. רוצה, רוצה,